Hello, friends. It is I, that one. I'm aware that in the past, I've made promises to upload more frequently. Nah. So, I'm a food review channel. I review food. Today, I have for you, Wrap Snacks Icon Ramen Noodles Creamy Chicken Gumbo flavor. Master P. I don't know who Master P is. Judging from the fact these are rap snacks, honestly, I don't much care for rap music either. I'm more of a classic rock guy myself. Metal as well. So, let's begin. It says that there's no limit to success on this package. That's a patently incorrect statement. Are there directions, though? Microwave directions, boiling water directions. Ah. Okay. So I can do this in the microwave, or I can pour boiling water into it. Okay, using boiling water seems to be the most simple way to do it, so I shall resume the video upon completion of the preparation. Hello, again. My food is done. The Master P chicken gumbo flavored ramen noodles. Now my question, why didn't they just make it chicken gumbo? Was that so hard? Can they not preserve whatever gumbo is the same way they can preserve ramen noodles? Well, maybe not the same way. Interestingly, instant ramen noodles are actually preserved by flash frying them. One might assume it to be a much more unsettling process. But, no, it is quite simple. I forgot my hat. One moment. I have my hat again. It wouldn't be that one without my hat, except for the Sour Patch Kids cereal. Wait, did I have my... No, I didn't have my hat for that one. That was one of my better videos, I think, because I went to my good friend's house, who I shall not divulge the name of. So, the first bite, the most important bite, dare I say. I'm unimpressed. Perhaps I should not have heeded the directions and filled above the fill line, as these are slightly undercooked. Something wicked this way comes. False alarm, something wicked this way did not come. Something wicked. 'Twasn't anything wicked, it was one of my dogs. He's a nice fellow. I'd quite like him. He's a nice young man, rather charming. Man, this sure is bland. I am unimpressed, to say the least. It's better than communism. Rather low bar, though. I know not how I managed it, but I seem to have choked on some steam. Something to cross off of my bucket list, I suppose. It's very uncomfortable to hold. Somehow the cup is very hot, while the noodles are perhaps 5 or 6 degrees above room temperature. Perhaps 8. You'd think something like a ramen noodle and a bunch of water would be a better insulator. I think it might retain heat. Man, I might have to actually create a real chicken gumbo just to assure to myself that Master P chicken gumbo ramen noodles are not an accurate depiction of it. It's called creamy chicken gumbo. This is not at all creamy. Overall, I'll give my rating when I finish it. But so far, unimpressed. Maybe it gets better the closer you get to the bottom, like drink mix. I purchased the Hotline Miami series recently. Seeing as how this food review is going terribly, I may as well do a small video game review. Hotline Miami is a masterpiece. Perhaps one of the closest things there is to a perfect game franchise. For those unfamiliar, it is a top-down shooter with some very basic bullet hell elements. It deals a lot with themes of insanity. It is wonderful fun if you like, if you enjoy hurting other people. Also, it has an absolutely wondrous soundtrack. It may actually get me into synthwave. I've been listening to two specific songs in it a lot. Hydrogen from the first game's soundtrack, created by, I believe, MOON, and Run in the second game's soundtrack, created by the artist I'm the Kid, You Know What I Mean? All one word. That is why I pronounced it like I'm the Kid, You Know What I Mean, rather than I am the kid, you know what I mean. No punctuation. Another creator that made music in the game is somebody by the name of Perturbator. Now, their music in the soundtrack isn't their best work. I would argue that their best work is a song called Death Squad. Now, not the Death Squad by that rapper not being Master P. Something worse somehow. I will not utter their name for I detest them so much that simply an utterance of what they go by would seem as almost even just a minuscule declaration of acknowledgement of them as an artist. They're not an artist, they're a guy who screams into the microphone while some low-quality bass-filled music plays in the background. Worst part is my brother likes it. Hear it all the time. Can't stand it. No. This Death Squad is far superior. I unfortunately cannot remember the name of the album, but that album also includes such hits as She Moves Like a Knife, a good one, and quite a few others that do not come to me at the moment. There is one good song by Perturbator in the Hotline Miami soundtrack. All the songs are good, but one that really stands out is called Sexualizer. Doesn't have any lyrics, so you won't have to worry about sexual content. That's simply the name of it. Now, there are a lot of games with good soundtracks, but not many games have soundtracks good enough that you could just listen to them while not playing the game. Something like Doom. Doom would be another example of that. An example of what is in theory a good soundtrack, but outside of... That's not even Noodles. Outside of the context of the game is not quite so wonderful, is Undertale. I played it 3 or 4 years ago. It's a pretty good game. It isn't wonderful. It's not all it's cracked up to be. It won a few awards, which it did deserve. Another game with a good soundtrack that I wouldn't listen to while not playing the game. West of Loathing. Favorite video game of all time. Greatest RPG ever made, in my opinion. Soundtrack. It's better than okay, but it's... I wouldn't call it good. It is all right. But you don't play that game for the music, you play that game for the comedy and for the gameplay. You can beat the game in, 40 minutes if you know what you're doing. 30 minutes if you know what you're doing and you're pretty lucky. And, honestly, that's just if you do the main quests. There are, a huge amount of side quests. A conservative estimate would be like 2 per location. But that's just an average. It's not taking into account the locations with many side quests like Dirtwater or Breadwood. Those are 2 of the towns. Or Roy's House of Justice and Jellybeans. 3 separate side quests. Well, 3 parts of one side quest. But you get what I mean. It's a masterpiece of a game. And there's a new one coming out soon. Something posted on Twitter by Asymmetric, the company that created both Kingdom of Loathing, the web game, which is free. I'd recommend you play it. And West of Loathing, of course, they released a screenshot of what seems to be a work-in-progress game set inside of a city, which depicts a backdrop of a city with a stick man wearing a fedora. Now, perhaps could this be the City of Loathing? I hope so. West of Loathing also has a DLC, a singular one, and it is worth every penny. It's called Reckoning at Gun Manor. Now, anybody who's familiar at all with history of firearms may have heard of the Winchester Arms Company. They were quite a big player back in the Old West days. Not as much of one now, but they're still around. They're still making things. And anybody who's particularly well-versed in the horror movie genre or in the Winchester Arms Company may have heard of Winchester Manor. Now, you see, the wife of the founder of Winchester Arms Company, she kind of went insane after her husband died. She thought that she was haunted by the ghosts of people who died at the hands of her company's weapons. So she had an unlimited amount of money from selling all the guns. So she decided that she was just going to build and build and build on her mansion forever, with like rooms that don't have any entrances and rooms that don't lead anywhere, stairways that don't go anywhere, doors with nothing behind them, things of that sort. And also recreated scenes of the deaths of people who died at the hands of her weapons in particularly grisly ways. I do not recall what the movie is called, but it is a very interesting story. I believe there's also a slight nod to it in Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC. This really isn't very good. It's alright, it's food, I'm going to finish it, but it's not much. Certainly edible. Wouldn't recommend it though. I even made it the proper way with a kettle rather than in the microwave, so that it would maintain the cell wall of the organic matter. Not that it mattered much, because this food sucks nonetheless. There are bits of vegetable in there. There's carrot, and there's yellow, and there's green. And I haven't identified the yellow or green. Okay, so there's carrot, and there's yellow, and there's green onion. But I haven't identified the yellow. even in the broth itself, which often has much more flavor than the noodles, there's little to no discernible chicken, and there's no gumbo, whatever on earth gumbo is supposed to taste like. I wouldn't even be that disappointed if this were not such an obscure thing. There, I'm done. I finished, and I didn't hate any second of it, but every millisecond was positively mediocre. Though that one, out of 10 master peas, I give it a firm 3. Don't buy it. It tastes like little to nothing. Disappointment in every bite. Farewell.